What up, YouTube? This is Zay G 33. I'm back again, man. I was on my Snapchat going in ranting, and I was like, this is the wrong platform. Let me get on YouTube and talk to my people, man. So I was just going in talking about spirituality pretty much and religion and how, a lot of people like to profess, spirituality. They like to push it onto people, not necessarily just spirituality, but I would say religion. And me personally, I grew up in a Christian household, and I just remember watching like I'm gonna wash these dishes while I talk to y'all, but I just remember watching and observing, everything that went on in the Christian church as I grew up in the way we went about doing things in the church. And my mom was deep in it, so she was like forcing us to do all the stuff they was doing. She made us go Sunday night, Wednesday, all of that. We had to go do the little soul winning thing, all that stuff. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know what it was about it, but it always sat a little weird with me. Even when I was a child, I just remember something just about the whole situation being weird. And I always observed the people. And one thing I learned is, especially like after observing close and then like being in certain churches and hearing things come out, like I just began to realize that it was like a big social thing. A lot of people weren't really sticking to any of these things. They didn't really understand religion or spirituality on a deeper level, and I don't even think they cared to. So, really, what I want to talk about in this also is like how my search and my journey for discipline kind of like I went away from the whole spiritual thing just to come back to it, because when I got back on discipline and I was like, I want to tighten my discipline up. I want to tighten my discipline up. I want to tighten my discipline up. And a lot of things I was doing with the discipline, I realized like with a lot of some of the spiritual paths and stuff like that'll really test your discipline. Some of the things. And like, I just like to test things like almost like a diet, you know what I'm saying? And that's kind of how I look at spirituality. Is it's just like it's like a I guess you could say a spiritual diet. You know what I'm saying? Like how you have a physical diet, you may eat keto, you may eat a low carb diet. You remember they had all these fad diets, Atkinson, all these different things. And I really believe, that these are all ways. Like they're all branches of the same tree. You know what I'm saying? I know some of you guys, they might not agree with what I'm saying, but this is just how I'm theorizing. And like you may take the tree of Islam, you may take the tree of Hinduism, you may take the tree of Buddhism, or you may take the tree of Christianity. You know what I'm saying? But everybody is taking one of those tree branches because they want to find the same thing. They want to find the source. You know what I'm saying? And whether you agree with that or not, that's just how I theorize it. You know what I'm saying? Because one thing I did was, um, I was always super into religion though. Like even though when I was in church, I was always like, man, this stuff kind of cool. Like especially when I started to realize like, oh, this line up with history. I wanted to read about other things, and then I was like, well, when I started reading the dates on things when when was the Bible written, or when was Christianity birthed, or there's other religions, when were they birthed? Where were they birthed? Why were they birthed? What are they talking about? You know what I'm saying? And at one point in my life when I was younger, I had a fear of looking into other religions because I was like, oh no, like no, I can't look at that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm trying to see what that word is. There's like a word for it, like it's like sacrilegious or something like that. Like I felt like a lot of this stuff was like going against stuff, and it would be evil to look at it. Like demons would get me or something. You know what I'm saying? Just when I was a little boy, before I had any type of understanding. And then once I actually began to study other religions and stuff, I think I had took a philosophy class, and they were talking about different religions and philosophies that came out of those religions, and I was just like, man, I was like, there's a lot of common denominators in this, like kind of like, and I remember being in I had went to a Christian school for a little bit, and in the Bible class they was talking about other religions and how they were like blasphemous, and how they were polytheistic and stuff like that. They're worshiping many gods and stuff, even though there's one God. But if you think about it, what is the difference between the Trinity. You're saying you're worshiping the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. You're worshiping Jesus Christ, but you're also praying to God. Like you got the Father, and then you got Jesus. But then you're saying, oh, over here they're polytheistic because the Hinduism has a trimurti, which is Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, and they're like, oh, they're worshiping multiple gods though. But it's like those are all avatars of the one though. You know what I'm saying? And if you look deeper into it, everything is one. You know what I'm saying? They're just avatars. Like if everything sprung out of source, if everything sprung out of one thing, then they're just, you know what I'm saying? You see what I'm getting at? They're multiples of the same thing. Like if my hand, this is how everything started, and then when it opens up and I have 5 fingers, you know what I'm saying? But it's like, but when I actually like read into it for myself and like tried to understand what was going on, I was like, dang, bro, like this is actually helping, you know? And then me studying other religions also had made me have a greater appreciation for Christianity too. Because like I remember when I was studying, you know, the Buddhism and the Hinduism and all that stuff and how they may fast or they do yoga and different practices. Then it made me go back and like, oh, that's why Jesus did the 40-day fasting. And you know how they say Jesus was celibate. You know, you have brahmacharya in Hinduism and which is sexual continence. And you know, I have videos about semen retention and doing those little streaks. Like I'm attaining to brahmacharya right now, which is very difficult because, you know, semen retention would just be abstaining from releasing, you know what I'm saying? But brahmacharya is basically like you're abstaining from any type of sexual thought. So it's difficult now. I ain't saying I'm perfect with it, but I'm attaining to it. But I am retaining though, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna be coming up on 90 days here soon again. We just shooting for the stars this time. Y'all remember I have a video about I documented it the whole way all the way up to a 6 month retaining streak. But I feel like this time is more powerful because I'm actually doing it in my mind. Even though I was retaining for that period of time, boy, I was thinking about it. Boy, I was listening to that party next door, thinking about freaking them to that. But see, I can't even talk about that. But look, yeah, back to all of it though. I found a lot of common denominators between a lot of the religions and it really just made me realize that like, man, like a lot of these things are just paths to the same thing, whether you agree with me or not, whether my subscribers agree with me or not. That's just what that's what I got from it, you know what I'm saying? And another thing is that I was just speaking about was the fact that a lot of people, you know, they look for outs. Nobody wants to really actually stick to what's in these things, and that's what makes me kind of want to do these things. I want to try and let me see what happens if I actually follow this to the T. You know what I'm saying? Let me see what happens if I actually abstain. Let me see what happens if I do these practices fast. Let me see what happens if I actually do the yogas. You know what I'm saying? Let me see what happens when I actually follow these things. Let me like not thinking about violence. Like that's what I've been working on. Not thinking about having violent thoughts, not having the sexual thoughts, and meditating, doing the pranayamas, doing all these different practices and seeing how it affects my life, you know? Because that's the thing, like how would you ever know if something works until you actually practice it, you know? Because I feel like a lot of people they just say it, you know, they go with it, they heard somebody else say it, but are they really doing their own due diligence and practicing these practices for themselves? Are they actually studying with their own eyes, not just like listening to somebody talk and being like, oh, okay, you know you're gonna forget it. Y'all went to school. You got to study. And what they say in the Bible, study to show thyself approved, man. You gotta, for me to, I want to actually understand something, you gotta put some repetition behind it and really study and study and study to try to come to greater understandings of it. But you know, this was just on my spirit, man. I just had to put it on here for y'all because I ain't posted a video in a minute. We coming up on 10 minutes, man. But y'all know what the deal is. Like, comment, subscribe, share, all that there. And it's Zay G 33. I'm out, man.